There is a parasitic loop embedded in the deepest substrate of your neuro-linguistic programming, a command line so ubiquitous that it has become invisible to the conscious mind. It is not a glitch. It is not an accident of evolution. It is a fundamental architectural constraint designed to keep the human engine revving at maximum capacity while the gears remain in neutral. You feel it every morning when the alarm breaks the silence. You feel it in the friction between the thought of action and the action itself. You feel it in the hollow exhaustion that follows a day of high anxiety but low output. It is the concept, the word, and the pathology of trying. We are taught that trying is a virtue, that the effort is noble, that the struggle is the point. But this is a deception. In the cold mechanics of reality creation, trying is not the precursor to doing. It is the opposite of doing. It is a distinct neurological state, a specific vibrational signature that broadcasts a single deafening signal to the universe and to your own subconscious, the signal of absence. To try is to acknowledge that you have not yet done. To try is to validate the existence of a barrier. To try is to inhabit the waiting room of existence, permanently preparing for a departure that never appears on the board. Consider the physics of a clenched fist. When you simply close your hand, the action is seamless. The electrical impulse travels from the motor cortex through the spinal column to the muscles of the forearm and hand. The fingers fold. The action is complete. There is no noise in the signal. Now, consider the act of trying to close your hand while simultaneously resisting that closure. You tense the extensors against the flexors, the arm shakes, the veins swell, the energy expenditure skyrockets, the heat generation increases. You are working incredibly hard. You are straining. You are trying with every fiber of your being. And yet, the hand remains open. The hand remains static. This is the physiological reality of the state of trying. It is an isometric exercise in futility, where the opposing forces of desire and doubt are perfectly balanced to create total paralysis masked as intense effort. This is not merely a metaphor. This is the precise bioelectrical signature you emit when you approach your life from the framework of trying. You are stepping on the gas and the brake simultaneously, destroying the engine while the vehicle remains parked in the driveway of potentiality. This paralysis is maintained by a linguistic virus. Language is not merely a descriptive tool, it is a generative code. When you say, "I will try to do this," you are essentially signing a contract with failure. You are building a psychological escape hatch before the mission has even commenced. The word try presupposes the possibility of failure. It introduces a binary outcome where none existed before. In the realm of pure action, there is only the process. You walk or you do not walk. You speak or you remain silent. But when you try to walk, you introduce a ghost in the machine, a hypothetical scenario where the walking does not occur. The subconscious mind, which operates like a literal, unironic computer, receives this command and understands it perfectly. It understands that trying is the goal. Therefore, it will provide you with endless opportunities to try. It will manufacture obstacles, it will manifest delays, it will conjure fatigue, all to ensure you can continue to fulfill your definition of the situation, the eternal state of the attempt. You become an addict of the struggle, addicted to the adrenaline of the near miss, the dopamine hit of the almost. We must dissect the temporal distortions caused by this pathology. Trying is a thief of the present moment. It projects consciousness into a hypothetical future where the task is complete, or drags it into a past where it was not. It prevents you from inhabiting the now where all agency actually resides. When you are in the state of trying, you are leaning forward, off balance, perpetually falling toward a horizon that retreats as you approach it. This creates a chronic, low-level anxiety, a background radiation of unease that permeates modern existence. Observe the masters of any craft. Observe a surgeon, a sniper, a concert pianist. In the moment of execution, they are not trying. They are simply being. The gap between intention and action has collapsed. They have entered a state of flow, where the conscious trier, that nagging critical voice in the prefrontal cortex, has been silenced. The trier is the ego. The trier is the self-image that needs to be seen making an effort so that it can be absolved of the shame of failure. If you try and fail, you are a martyr. If you simply do and fail, you are incompetent. Thus, trying becomes a defense mechanism, a shield against the brutality of judgment. It is a way to say, "Look how much I suffered," as if suffering were a currency that could purchase success. It cannot. The universe is indifferent to your struggle. It only responds to your alignment. This programming runs deep, woven into the fabric of our education systems and our corporate hierarchies. We are graded on effort. We are rewarded for showing up. We are told that it's the thought that counts. These are comforting lies designed to manage a population of mediocrity. In the stark reality of cause and effect, the thought counts for nothing if it does not precipitate a shift in material reality. The danger of this indoctrination is that it creates a dissociation from results. We have entire generations drowning in busy work, confused as to why their exhaustion is not translating into progression. They are running on the treadmill of trying, sweating, panting, watching the digital numbers climb, believing they are traveling vast distances, only to step off and realize they haven't moved an inch. This is the law of reversed effort, famously articulated by Aldous Huxley. The harder we try, with the conscious will to do something, the less we shall succeed. Proficiency and the results of proficiency come only to those who have learned the paradoxical art of doing and not doing, or combining relaxation with activity. The mechanism of this paradox lies in the interference pattern created by excessive potential. In physics, high pressure seeks low pressure. Nature abhors a vacuum, but it also abhors a spake. When you attribute excessive importance to an outcome, when you try too hard, you create a surplus potential, a ridge of energetic tension that distorts the reality field around the object of your desire. This is the Zeigarnik effect weaponized against you. The universe seeks equilibrium. To balance the excessive importance you have placed on the goal, the forces of equilibrium will work to push the goal away. This is why the thing you want most desperately is often the thing that eludes you, while the things you care little about land in your lap with insulting ease. When you try, you are screaming to the universe that you do not have. You are emphasizing the lack, and the mirror of reality, faithful and cruel, reflects that lack back to you. It gives you more wanting. It gives you more striving. It traps you in the hallway of desire, forever reaching for the doorknob. To understand the architecture of this trap, we must look at the neurochemistry of the trying brain. The state of effortful striving is associated with high levels of norepinephrine and cortisol. These are stress hormones. They narrow the focus, inducing a tunnel vision that is useful for escaping a predator, but catastrophic for creative problem solving or complex manifestation. When you are trying to solve a problem, you are literally constricting your cognitive periphery, shutting down the lateral thinking networks where the solution likely resides. You are bludgeoning the problem with the blunt instrument of willpower. Willpower is a finite resource. It is a battery that drains rapidly. Relying on willpower is a strategy for burnout. The elite operators, the reality architects, do not use willpower. They use structural tension. They use identity shifting. They do not try to quit smoking. They become non-smokers. The linguistic shift dictates the biological reality. As long as you are trying to quit smoking, you are a smoker, engaging in an act of self-denial. The tension will eventually snap, and the relapse is inevitable because the identity has not shifted. You are fighting your own source code. This brings us to the sinister role of hope. Hope is often painted as a light in the dark, but in the context of this mechanism, hope is the tether that keeps you bound to the state of trying. Hope implies a lack of certainty. You do not hope the sun will rise, you know it will. You do not hope your heart will beat, you assume it will. Hope is reserved for the things you doubt. By hoping, you are validating the doubt. You are feeding the shadow. The antidote to trying is not hoping, but knowing. It is the assumption of the wish fulfilled. It is the quiet, arrogant conviction that the thing is already done. When you reach for a glass of water, you do not hope you will successfully drink. You do not try to drink. You simply drink. The action is devoid of the friction of doubt. This is the state of Wu Wei in Taoism, effortless action. It is the water eroding the rock, not through violence, but through persistence and gravity. It is the realization that you are not a separate entity pushing against the universe, but a current within it. The socio-political implications of a population stuck in trying are staggering. A populace that is constantly trying to make ends meet, trying to be happy, trying to find truth, is a populace that is easily controlled. They are perpetually exhausted, their energies dissipated in the friction of their own resistance. They are consumers of remedies, of courses, of products that promise to bridge the gap between the attempt and the attainment. But the gap is the product. The industry of self-help relies on the perpetuation of the self that needs help. If everyone stopped trying and simply started being, the economy of aspiration would collapse overnight. The programming tells you that you are incomplete, that you are a project to be managed, a problem to be solved. This keeps you turned inward, obsessed with your own optimization, blinded to the systemic cages being erected around you. You are the hamster, and trying is the wheel. The wheel generates energy for the system, but it takes the hamster nowhere. Let us go deeper into the biology of belief. The placebo effect is the most concrete scientific proof we have that trying is inferior to believing. In placebo studies, patients who try to get better often show no improvement, but patients who believe they have been given the cure, who accept the reality of their healing as a fait accompli, undergo measurable physiological changes. Tumors shrink, inflammation subsides, neurotransmitters rebalance. The body does not respond to the effort of the mind, it responds to the image held by the mind. When you try, the image you hold is one of struggle. When you know, the image you hold is one of resolution. The body prints the image it sees. If you are constantly broadcasting the static of attempting, your reality will be a grainy, distorted rendition of your desires. You must clear the signal. You must drop the interference. This requires a terrifying surrender. To stop trying feels like giving up. It feels like apathy. But this is the final trick of the ego. The ego equates anxiety with care. It whispers, if I stop worrying, if I stop straining, everything will fall apart. The opposite is true. When you release the stranglehold of trying, you allow the natural intelligence of the system to take over. You allow the autonomic nervous system to regulate without your micromanagement. You allow the subconscious to process data at millions of bits per second, rather than the pathetic trickle managed by the conscious mind. Think of it as floating. To float, you must trust the water. If you try to float by thrashing and flailing, you will drown. You must surrender to the buoyancy. You must do less to achieve more. This is counterintuitive to a mind forged in the fires of industrial logic, which dictates that output is proportional to input. In the quantum logic of reality, output is proportional to clarity, not calorie expenditure. The delay is part of the illusion. We live in a time-lagged reality. The material world is dense. It takes time for the rearranging of atoms to catch up with the rearranging of thoughts. When you stop trying and start being, the external world will not change instantly. This is the testing period. This is where most revert to the program. They look at the mirror and see the old reality. They scream, "It didn't work, I have to try harder," and immediately they reseed the cloud of failure. You must understand the principle of hysteresis, the lag between cause and effect. The reality you see around you right now is the echo of your past thoughts and your past tryings. It is a dead star, its light just reaching you now. To change the future, you must ignore the evidence of the senses. You must persist in the new state of being, despite the lack of immediate confirmation. Trying relies on external validation. Being generates its own validation from within. There is a distinct sensation when one transitions from trying to doing. It is a drop in temperature. The fever of anxiety breaks. The heartbeat slows. The internal monologue, usually a frantic narrator describing the difficulty of the task, goes silent. There is a sense of inevitability. It is the feeling of a train locking onto the tracks. Once on the rails, the train does not try to reach the station. The destination is structurally guaranteed by the path. Your job is to lay the rails, not to push the train. You lay the rails by aligning your identity, your assumptions, and your daily micro-actions with the reality you desire. You do not try to wake up early. You are the kind of person who wakes up early. The difference is subtle linguistically, but massive energetically. One is a battle, the other is a characteristic. We must also confront the weaponization of potential. Potential is a dangerous comfort. "I have so much potential" is often a code for "I have never actually tested my limits." As long as you are trying, you can maintain the illusion of infinite potential. You haven't failed yet because you haven't really finished. You are perpetually in the draft phase. This protects the ego from the finality of a result. If you release the work, if you commit the act, it is judged. It is real. It is finite. Trying allows you to live in the infinite fantasy of what could be. It is a womb you refuse to leave. But to be born, you must leave the womb. You must collapse the wave function. You must accept the mortality of your ideas. A mediocre thing that actually exists is infinitely more powerful than a perfect thing that you are trying to create. The architecture of your reality is built on the foundation of your assumptions. If you assume life is hard, if you assume you must fight for every scrap, the simulation will obligingly render a hostile environment. Trying is the behavioral manifestation of the assumption of difficulty. Why would you try unless it was hard? By the very act of striving, you are defining the task as difficult. You are essentially adding weight to the barbell before you lift it, just to prove you are strong enough to lift it. Why not assume lightness? Why not assume ease? This is not laziness, it is efficiency. It is aerodynamic design for the soul. The smooth stone skips across the water, the jagged stone sinks. Trying makes you jagged. It creates edges and hooks that catch on the fabric of circumstances. Smoothness, the absence of resistance, allows you to glide through chaos untouched. Ultimately, trying is a rejection of the self. It is a statement that who I am right now is not enough to achieve this, so I must strain to become something else. It is a constant act of reaching outside of oneself for resources that are already present. The resources are unlocked not by force, but by the key of acceptance. When you accept that you are the operative power, the need to try dissolves. You simply direct. You command. The difference between a king and a beggar is that the beggar asks, tries, and the king commands, does. You have been begging at the gates of your own palace. You have been trying to get in, not realizing the lock is voice-activated, and it only responds to a voice that does not tremble with the vibration of effort. This silent programming governs your relationships as well. You try to make someone love you. You try to be interesting. This projection of effort is repulsive. It signals neediness. It signals a vacuum. Humans are instinctively repelled by the energy of trying in social dynamics because it feels predatory. It feels like a transaction is being forced. Conversely, we are drawn to those who are self-possessed, who are grounded in their own reality, who do not need our validation to exist. They are not trying to impress. They are simply expressing. The paradox holds true. The less you try to be liked, the more magnetic you become. The energy you withdraw from the attempt is returned to you as charisma. Charisma is simply the energy of non-resistance flowing through a human vessel. The escape from this prison requires a ruthless audit of your vocabulary and your internal state. Catch yourself every time you use the word try. Delete it. Replace it with I will or I will not. There is no middle ground. Reframe your tasks. If something feels like trying, stop. Step back. Ask yourself why you are manufacturing resistance. Are you afraid of success? Are you afraid of the responsibility that comes with completion? Reset the mechanism. Approach the task again, not as a mountain to be conquered, but as a river to be stepped into. The water is already moving. You just need to wade in. The current of reality is neutral. It will carry you to the destination of your dominant vibration. If your vibration is struggle, it will carry you to more struggle. If your vibration is flow, it will carry you to the ocean. We are approaching the event horizon of this realization. The old operating system is incompatible with the speed of the new world. The hustle, the grind, the glorification of blood, sweat, and tears, these are relics of the industrial age, machines of flesh and bone. The information age and the coming age of consciousness rewards alignment, intuition, and precision. It rewards the sniper, not the machine gunner. It rewards the hacker, not the brute force attacker. Trying is brute force. It is banging on the keyboard hoping to guess the password. Knowing is having the key. You have the key. It has been in your pocket the entire time while you were busy trying to kick down the door. Stop kicking. The noise is distracting you from the silence where the answer waits. The door opens inward. You have been pushing when you needed to pull. You have been trying when you needed to allow. It is already too late to try. It is time to simply be.